Comforter. What is it that you think about when you think about the Comforter? It's not this program, is it? Because we normally deal with real edgy stuff. But it is something that you should think about in relation to this program. Because in fact, we are trying to bring comfort to you, to give you an alternative perspective in relationship to your love and desire for this government to do for you the things that must be done inside your own mind and body. And that is to have faith, be encouraged, be uplifted no matter what the circumstances are, because you will receive. And that victory comes through living a long life. Not necessarily a life filled with pain and agony and despondence. That is all part of a growth process as well. But the hope and gratification that life itself brings, with the hope of a new day and a new adventure and being able to conquer life's challenges. You know, some of the things that have really struck me in the spirit was that a lot of the aggression, anger, and the way we treat each other, I believe, is directly linked with diet. Because in the foods that we eat in America, there are so many chemicals and additives and dyes and preservatives. I believe if there is a case study done accurately, it would point to the type of aggressive behavior and some of the symptoms of bipolar and all these other issues that we have are directly linked with the American diet. What can we do about this? Even Michelle Obama has spoken out against the diet that we're feeding our children. Why would we want to kill our children for the sake of capitalism and the elite getting wealthy and us having the semblance of wealth while our children are racked with obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, and various other maladies associated with simply what we eat and drink? How can that be good for us as a nation and as a people? And the study diet of violence that is given to us without measure in this country, from video games to the militarism to the barbarity that we see on the streets, i.e., case in point, New York, stop and frisk. A young man, star athlete, as well as a beautiful A student, standing on the corner, and lo and behold, an angel of death descended upon him in the form of a police woman. And when she frisked this young man because of his beauty, and of course our children have been taught to be arrogant and selfish and flashy in this society. And it's unfortunate that it's the dominant society that's portrayed themselves and given them those images, and then when we reflect it in our beauty, we are hated. And when she frisked this young man, she squeezed his testicles twice. And when the first time wasn't good enough, as the report is alleged to have gone, she did it again, and the second time she burst his testicles. And do you know that this system has protected the identity of the police? And certainly as an adult man, understanding circumstances and heated environments, what they're trying to say, it happened because of what happened and him resisting arrest. Now he's in a wheelchair, maybe never to have a child, and has a star athlete and beautiful student. Life has been irreparably changed by bigotry. See, you cannot legislate how people feel. If they hate you in their heart, I don't care how many times and how many ways you vote for them, they're still going to hate you. And they're going to find ways to use the systems in place to bring devastation to our community. And I talk about dissent from this government and that action in a dignified, lawful way. That's why I will not vote for a system of white supremacy, white privilege, and oppression. Doesn't mean that I don't love white people. It means that I'm analyzing the results of their system and its impact on us and our children And why would I support death on myself and my family? You know, it speaks to me, it makes me think of another scenario, the aging process itself. Because as we talk about life and death, in America, focus is on the youth. Everything young, whether it's sexuality and the pert young, fine, nubile bodies of young men and women. But in reality, what's going to win out is the ancient, not the young. It's those things that have lasted and stood what? The test of time. Whether it's the pyramids, the word of Yah, the stones on Hilton Head or one of those islands, Easter Island, thank you. And there are so many other monoliths that have stood the test of time. So when you look at America's philosophy of automatic having things become, what do they call it? Obsolescence, where they can keep giving you something else that does the same thing, where they make money and we build up a larger pile of trash. And lastly, what is the biggest scam in the automotive industry? Think about it. The biggest scam to me in the automotive, what did you say?
GPS.
GPS is one, but that's not the biggest. The biggest scam in the automotive industry is the emissions fiasco. Here you have a capitalist system that preys and feeds off the poor, the weak. It's like the bird of prey. What does the bird of prey look for? The diseased, the old, and the weak. And this system does the same thing. The emissions test feeds off the poor, those who have vehicles that are trying to make it to work just to survive. And when some small element of that design in the vehicle's engine falters, then they say, oh, well, it's causing too much emissions in the air, rather than the manufacturers designing a vehicle that does what? Not pollute. What a novel concept. Who would have thought it? That you could actually invent something that doesn't pollute, so you don't put the weight of trying to give a carbon-based fuel by its own ignition is going to emit toxic fumes that will kill you if they're breathed in for an extended period of time. What? Why can't these geniuses and these billionaires think like that? Because it is control, and it is to keep you under the foot of the social elite. Let me just read the scripture. But there's a comforter. See all this right here? I was bringing you all around all these issues because this show is designed, it's your show, first of all, giving honor to Yah and his anointed son Yeshua, but it's to the family of believers because he did send a comfort. He said, oh, I send you a comfort. You in slavery, you're going to be in bondage, you're going to go through changes, but I what? Send you a comforter. Now, let's read what he says about this comforter. Red cheer. You know what I'm talking about? I'm going to pick it up in chapter 14 of John and verse 19. Verse 18. Verse 17. Even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot see, receive, because it seeth him not, neither knoweth him not, but you know him, for he dwelleth with you, and shall be in you. I will not leave you comfortless. I will come to you. Yet a little while, and the world seeth me no more. But you see me, because I live, you shall live also. At that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and he in me, and I in you. He that keepeth my commandments and keepeth them, he it is that loveth me. And he that loveth me shall be loved of my Father. And I will be loved of my Father, and I will love him, and will manifest myself to him. Judas saith unto him, not Iscariot, Master, how is it that you will manifest yourself to us, and not unto the world? Yeshua answered and said unto him, if a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him, and make our abode with him. He that loveth me keepeth not my sayings, and the world which he heareth is not mine, but the Father's which sent me. And here's the kicker. These things have I spoken unto you, being yet present with you. But the Comforter, which is the Ruach HaKodesh, or English, Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. We're going to leave it right there. In the midst of war, turbulence, death, mutilation, disenfranchisement, dismemberment, there is a Comforter, and he is in you. You just have to believe. Now we got a powerful panel right here. Woo! This thing is on up in here. To my right, a beautiful princess. You know who she is. Studio 25, Zeal TV, the champion of Comcast right here, right now. Sue Ann, tell how you doing, sweetheart?
I'm just fine.
You got you on the red, got your red jacket on. It's on up in here now. That's right. And to her right, an evolutionary revolutionary. You know who he is. Black Sun.
Let's go home and get him.
You already know, baby.
Right.
Thing is on up in here. And to his right, and his name is a time of day, but not a state of mind. You know who he is. Assalamu alaikum, Elder Sunday.
Assalamu alaikum and salam alaikum. Peace be with you, my brother.
Yes, sir. You know, Elder Sundown, let me start with you, because when we look at this issue of our people, the abuse in New York, it's really all across this country.
Yes, it is.
And it's in various forms. As the news correspondent for the Hero Yah program, what are some of the news events that have struck your fancy, well, that caught your attention that you'd like to reveal to the family?
Well, the weather is number one.
Okay.
Yeah, the weather. Case in point, in the middle part of the United States, in the upper part, they're actually running out of propane gas because the rural area, that's how they heat their homes.
Exactly.
And then
I use propane, by the way.
Right. And the roads are, every time they clear the roads, another storm just keep coming, storm after storm. And when I was watching the weather last night, they have not went above freezing for 3 weeks. So that's number one.
When you say they, because I remember you telling me about Lake Superior. And
right.
all the lakes
Lake Michigan, Lake Superior frozen solid.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Lake Superior, they had an ice hockey game.
Somebody switch that camera for me.
Last week. Yeah, they actually played hockey on.
There you go.
Yeah. And then the fire and the drought in California.
Okay.
They running out of water.
Yes, sir.
In California because of the fires.
Exactly.
And the drought.
Yes.
Yeah. Now bringing home the violence here, you know, that went on this week from the killing of a couple of women, find one person in the car where the car was burned up in the trunk.
Right. That's here in Atlanta.
Yeah. And then also the killing in, I think it's South Carolina, where the brother to go to Florida A&M.
Right.
Car broke down, something happened with the vehicle, and he went and knocked on the generator.
Not again. Oh my, not another one of those.
Yes, and he was shot death.
Oh my God, because remember the young lady.
Right, exactly.
With the exact same thing.
Yep. And then the brother in Beaumont, Texas, married to a Caucasian woman. Now this alleged that he, every time she went out of town, his wife, he would get a motel and be with the Shaft daughter.
Now this is not the one down in Valdosta, is it?
No, this is Beaumont, Texas.
Okay.
That's recently.
Oh my goodness.
He's a physical therapist. So they found him in a brush with one sock in his underwear, nothing else. No abrasion, but they all denying it. The sheriff's daughter said they didn't have that, but all the friends and associates said that's a lie, that they was involved.
Right.
Yeah. So man, it just go on and on. But I want to get back to capitalism and what you were discussing in the beginning of your intro.
Yes, sir.
I want to go back to when silver and gold you could take in, and get, and then they took it and made the paper and took the silver and gold.
Exactly.
Okay, it was Rothschild and Hallmarks and all of them said, they don't care who be president, who be governor, who be mayor, long as they control the money.
Exactly.
So now I was watching CNN and PBS last night. Bill Maher on PBS. He was saying both Republicans and Democrats, they are so vain in being about the wealthy till when it comes to the American people, they lose why the American people sent them there and voted them there.
Right.
And he was talking about all the ones that got Rolex watches and like the couple in Virginia that they just
they
indicted.
Governor.
Right.
Absolutely. And they've been doing
Of course it is, but it's coming out to the light now to show the people that still,
Well, after Kwame took 28 years, they had to do something.
Well, Jesse Jr. now, because he brought up Jesse Jr.,
But they're modern Jesse Jr., but Kwame,
right. Yeah. But, and he was talking about the gap for the last 40 years of the wealth.
Right.
Now, I was watching week 4 last.
Right.
They said 85 people in this country own over half of the wealth.
That's right.
85 people.
That's it.
Now, my brother and I was discussing this past week. How is it that the American people allowed 85 human beings, so-called human beings, because I think if 85 people own the majority of the wealth, then somebody gonna be short, which is always us and the Latinos.
Hello.
Why do that? Now it's even affecting the middle class white. Remember
what middle class? They erasing them.
I'm saying they used to be a middle class, right? It's not one anymore.
Exactly.
But we were saying is, why is it that the American people allowed this to happen?
They've been bamboozled.
Right, exactly.
Hoodwinked.
Exactly. Now, Governor Christie.
That's right.
I was watching Melissa Harris Perry this morning.
Exactly.
And they had the Latino representative for New Jersey, and they had this Caucasian brother, where they had to go to court because the federal government gave Christie and his administration $1.8 billion for standing. But none of it went to the Latino and the black community. So they had the Latino brother and the Caucasian, they had to go to court to get an injunction to find out what happened to the money.
They know what happened to it.
I know. I mean, they know, but to show the people
how corrupt.
Right, and because he was riding on a wavelength. He talking about being the nominee for 2016.
Exactly.
So they want to expose to show the people that he ain't, what he's saying and what they project.
Just what they want.
I mean.
I know what you mean.
No, I'm saying who?
The
elite.
And even with the state's situation with the bridge.
Well, that's how it's coming out.
His approval rating went up.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm telling you.
And that's why I said they bringing this out.
Right.
Because of what you just said, that it's a proven rating went up.
Absolutely.
That it's a scam.
They like scandal.
Yeah,
America likes scandal. Now, and I ain't talking about the movie. The series. Now let me go to a power. You saw two powerful. My heart throbbed. They make my liver quiver. The sisters from the congregation of Yeshua, Sister Tamar, Sister Samara, were sent as champions from Yah. They are the powerful warrior elite, and I pray that you'll see more of them. But we have another powerful sister on this panel right here. And Sue Ann, as a world traveler, you talking about going to Saudi Arabia, you already been all over the world, right? Well, I won't say all over, been in a number of different places. But the topics that we've spoken of today, what really strikes your fancy and what are you feeling? How do do you receive comfort?
Well, comfort and joy are huge tenets of Quakerism. Okay, the Society of Friends, as it is technically known. And it is sort of, that's why we sit in silence, to get to that place of knowing the comfort. And knowing is the key word. Not just believing in it, but knowing it, taking that in. Once you pass that point of the belief in somebody else's story to that point of your own knowing, then there's a whole different discussion.
Exactly.
It's one that you don't even want to take up. It's past the argument. So, that's a major tenet. But what you were saying about the emissions, definitely caught me. I used to go to LA in the late 60s, early 70s. My eyes would burn, my face would burn, everything would burn. We don't want to ever dial that back. Okay? And emissions and car emissions should never be an economic thing.
Exactly.
If you've got the money to put them out, you need to be responsible for them for the rest of their life. That's the way I feel about it. It's the same issue as we talked about last week with clean water. It's a human right. Clean air is a human right. But I'll tell you an interesting thing. I went back to college in 1998.
Wow.
And I had to pass a major math hurdle. And traditional math is not my thing. So I came up with this math thing that I would do all the research. And I did the research, the preliminary research of what it would be if we took out all the EPA fines to the cities, if we just gave all the poor people a clean car. At a rate that they subsidize it, the jobs would go up, the fines would go down, the quality of life, it just everything worked. Do you know, after 6 months of research and absolute genuine research, okay, my thing got turned down by as utopian.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, and then
unachievable in this society.
And then 10 years later, it was cash to clunkers. That was the Obama program. And but it is what we have to do. We have to remove that is continually injuring, and the people who have the continuing injuring cars need that boost, and they're the same people who need the jobs. There's no reason that this is not a problem. This is, if I could figure it out as a challenged math student, okay, somebody in Washington can figure this out too.
You can believe it. Now, Elder Sundown asked a powerful question, and this is the question that I want to pose to you because he's already laid it out and outlined. Why would a social elite want to sully the air, the water, the earth itself, just for the semblance of profit, knowing, it's just like feeding your own children these foods that are literally killing us. Why?
Okay, well, here's the point.
From your perspective.
This is back to simple math. The places where these people live have clean water, have clean air, plenty of clean, good food. They do not eat the processed packaged stuff that you find in, the Ingles shopping center. Okay? I tell everybody, go live where they live. Move. Go live enjoy those schools. Enjoy that clean air. Okay? There's no reason. It's a geographical thing. It doesn't happen in their neighborhood. I have a dear friend that I've mentioned before who's dying of cancer as his whole family is now being diagnosed because of where they live by the airport in LAX. Okay, they all know this is going on. That water is poisoned. Forget about the air and the stuff that you get from the byproducts of the airplanes taking off. But the water is absolutely dangerous for those people. Move. Nobody should live there. Cattle shouldn't graze there.
Now, not the.
But hold on. Let me blame Black off in here because Black. This is a powerful because this is a multi-level discussion. When we talk about comforter, I've dealt with a number of issues that plague our community, and as an atheist, you and I have never looked at each other from a label perspective. We bandied back and forth because of philosophical differences, but I don't look at you from your label as king of the atheists.
That's right.
Anyway, but when it talks about comfort in a society gone mad and then aging, one of the things before the show came on, I asked you, I wanted to hear you bring an aged atheist to the set. Because as we age, we tend to think about things beyond the physical to the hereafter.
Okay.
I want to ask two questions. One, what brings the king of the atheist comfort? And two, what's in the hereafter for the atheist?
Okay, let me answer number two up front, and I get that out of the way. As king of the atheists, I used to be the king of the black atheists. White people were like, no, that's racist. I said, okay, king of the atheists. And what we've decided is to let y'all deal with the spiritual realm. We are the defenders of earth realm. And so like Suan was talking about, hydrofluoric silicic acid in the water.
Right.
Ammonium.
Nitrates.
Yeah, ammonium nitrates in the air. So that's what we deal with. I can't get comfort until all this is clean. So we have to have clean water, clean air, right. Regular food, not genetically modified. These are the battles that I have to help align myself. Anybody that's willing to fight these battles, I'm with them. There's no reason why Monsanto should have won the labeling of the food. They defeated that. The people came together and said, we want our food to be labeled. We want to know when it's genetically modified and when it's natural. Can we just get a label? And Monsanto, the lobbyists shot that down.
The judiciary changes the rules and the laws to make a corporation a person, therefore giving them certain rights that they didn't have before. Isn't that part of a system of collusion?
Well, it's a system, but like I said, you have what you call lobbyists. But we still have to come together and fight. We might lose some, win some, but we still got to fight. You can't just lay down and say, well, you're going to just let y'all handle it. No, we got to sit there and fight and do the work, Gideon. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So that's, as an atheist, that's what I'm saying. I can't get comfort knowing that I got chemtrails all around me blocking out the sun. I can't get comfort, with the water. On average, 99% of the water has hydrofluoric silicic acid in it. Fluoride. I don't need fluoride in my water. Right. But these are the kind of things that, as Suan was saying, as they call it utopia, once we start moving towards that, because we can make these things happen, but we have to, I know you don't like this, Gideon, but we got to get involved in the system. I'm seeing some things that are taking place. You got your first black president in Washington, the state of Seattle. You got your first democratic socialist.
Wait a minute, though.
Woman.
Wait a minute. Did I just indicate judicial impropriety?
You did.
White privilege?
Because no, it's not even white privilege. You can't have white privilege when you have Barack Obama as president.
Oh my goodness! Somebody drank the Kool-Aid.
No, bro,
That's an image.
It's a chess game. You cannot say white supremacy. You got 5 major governmental positions held by black people. You can't do it, Gideon.
And they are puppets.
You got to come up with a new strategy, Gideon, and that's locking arms with the whites that are being poisoned, as well as the Mexicans, as well as the blacks.
I do agree with that philosophy.
All right, see, our strength is in numbers. But as long as they're gay and they're Muslim terrorists and they're black atheists and they Hebrews, you keep them divided and arguing about afterlife instead of earth realm things. That's why I said I'm a defender of earth realm, because there's things that I have to take care of here and now. Our children are being poisoned with the water, with the air. And they're talking about cutting food stamps, and cutting all kind of educational
Not talking about
doing it. And for you military and police, yes, they're going to replace you with drones. So now we're living in I grew up watching James Cameron film The Terminator. Right. Well, that film compared to today is 20 years behind of what's really going on. And let's talk about the NSA.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's talk about how they're bugging everything. Actually, how everything has always been bugged.
Exactly.
It's just that when
when
you bug the Prime Minister of Germany, now it's a problem. They get it. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? It's not the bugging that's a problem. It's the ability to have artificial intelligence take that information and extrapolate something that was never available, a profile and stuff like that before.
Exactly.
That's.
Let me just say this to the family: 770-559-2999. 770-559-2999. You know this is your show for your new year. We have yet to have a call in. I know it may be 5 or 6 people out there watching. Give us a call and don't be shy. Go ahead.
Brother, I don't care how much we vote, unless it's somebody else financing the election, our vote ain't worth a damn.
Exactly. That's right.
That's what black son don't get. Sure, Barack Obama is the president, but he don't have no power because Wall Street and them folks put him in there. We just voted because they make us feel good. The folks on top, we're going to let them vote so they'll
feel good.
Yeah, make we think we participate.
Exactly.
It always been the one that got the money dictates.
That's it.
That's why this the money thing got to go.
Right.
That's what they were talking about on PBS last night. Long as the money's involved in this here, we cannot.
It's gonna be corrupt.
Right.
That's capitalism.
Now let's get back to the food stamp.
Yes, sir.
This week they voting at the Capitol downtown to make the folks that getting food stamp take drug tests.
Yep.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Now, what would fix that? If we go, like you talking about, I believe in unity, but I also believe in righteousness.
That's right.
That means you gonna treat me right. You just ain't gonna use me and then kick me to the curb.
That's what they've done to us.
I know, but I'm talking about the collective people that want clean water, want good food.
That's
now he talking about what is it?
Monsanto.
Okay, how you think they got that passed? The money.
The money.
That's right. I agree.
The money.
So if the money was taken out of it,
Totally agree.
I totally agree with that.
I have said for years and years and years on many of my papers that if you took the money out of cancer treatment, we would have a cure.
But wait a minute, let me ask you this. If you take the money out, what system do you have then? Capitalism thrives on the money.
No, I am for socialized medicine 100%. I've lived in countries where it works beautifully. Okay. I lived in Australia where it worked beautifully. Everybody had health care, didn't cost them anything. If you wanted more and special treatment, you could buy it. Okay, you could buy extra insurance to have extra special whatever.
Right.
Okay, but nobody was denied. Okay, and everybody had health care. And everybody was on deck to make sure that bad things didn't happen health-wise to people. Right. That's the important thing.
Well, I think the governing body was the church, basically, for the poor. And when what would you say was the governing body when you said everybody was on deck and we had kind of a checks and balances system? How did we, from your perspective, I mean, we've been on the block for a minute. We've seen things change. How do you think things change?
Well, in Australia, it was a descendant of the British system. Okay, you know, the British system has always had, let's take care of
our property,
of our people.
Colonization.
But in England, you know, that is one of the ideas that spread to Canada, to Australia, you know, to the British provinces, and it's one of the things I'd keep. You know?
Well, one of the things that scares me is the term proletariat. I mean, the poor. You do still have the royal ruling class, and you still. Go ahead, Black. I know you. 770-559-2999. Who's going to be the first to break the barrier to call in live on this show for your new year? Go ahead.
I'll tell you what would ideally give me comfort: a transparent government.
Right.
And I would say livable wages.
Yeah,
Not fair, livable wages.
That's right.
You know, I want, like Sue Ann was saying, you know, universal health care. Okay. And I want to see everybody on this panel get that.
They are tied together. Okay? If you're not worried about losing your shirt because of medical bills that could happen anytime and be unexpected.
That's right.
Okay. If that giant safety net were there for everybody, then the amount of money that we make and take home becomes a different discussion. I do believe that we all need, a livable wage. I also am a small business, and so when the government comes down on me and says there's so many caveats to having an official employee these days.
Yes.
With the amount of this that you've got to have, and that you've got to have, and this, and that, and what you have to do, and the compliance and stuff.
That's it.
Costs so much. Just like on the food stamps, who is watching this? This is just the most bizarre thing, because who's going to pay for all this drug testing?
Exactly.
But it's another industry. What you have is, once again, collusion, network.
But the whole justification is that we're giving people who don't deserve it for some reason or whatever, and actually people on drugs probably deserve it, need it more than all. But so that's the justification, and we're going to spend probably a third the budget on that, trying to screen out the 1% that would be found.
But see, this is on the back. Wait a minute now. See what they're doing again now. This is on the heels of them legalizing marijuana in many states.
Thank you.
You understand?
Right.
So here in
Georgia,
there's smallpox in the blanket.
Right.
I mean, I never disagreed with that concept.
Right. Look at George. Right.
The issue has to do with when they now utilize this tactic of taking the food stamps and reducing them or eliminating them because you have marijuana on you or in you, then they can once again criminalize.
Right.
That's what the next step is. Because if they lose the flow from coming from the street, if they make it legal, then they're going to have to they're going to have to reestablish some other way of fueling that lost market.
Now, I want to say about the drug issue. I was on narcotics for 7 years.
Yes, sir.
Now, a study done came out that narcotics, these synthetic drugs that they make, and alcohol kill quadruple more people than marijuana.
Absolutely.
Quadruple.
Yes.
But you don't see nobody coming out countering what they trying to do with this marijuana thing.
Right.
You don't see nobody.
But what are they going to do with somebody who presents with narcotics that they're getting in a prescription?
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, so they're legalizing the chemical and criminalizing the natural.
Well, see, it's a strategy.
It is a strategy beyond what the average person can even see.
And I would love to take Sundown to the next marijuana debate, because it's not, people keep thinking I'm attacking marijuana. No, I'm looking at the chess game.
Exactly.
You just said they're going to drug test you. Guess what they're going to drug test you for? Just like the Department of Corrections. They rarely test cocaine. They rarely test methamphetamine. You know what? Just give him a marijuana.
Exactly. But you know what? When they test you for that marijuana, they're going to test you for a lot of other things that you don't even know about, because when you sign that release form, they don't have to, but they can.
All they got to say is you have THC, your food stamps are cut. That's it. End of story.
That's it. What they got? And then they have other drugs that mimic THC.
Right.
You understand? So there's a false.
Well, look how many drugs that THC is in.
Exactly.
I learned that during the 90s when I was, THC in a lot of pain medication.
Absolutely, it is. What they've done is take
opium is in a lot of pain medication.
Exactly. Because it's the original sedative that man has used to synthesize, so he can mass produce it and take control of it.
Yes.
Of the substance.
Yes.
Well, that's why you were talking about Monsanto. Yeah. Now,
that's right.
Which
was the first to genetically manipulate marijuana on record.
Right.
They were talking about that, Black Son.
Yeah,
they were talking about that.
The first, before they tampered with the corn, before they tampered with the watermelon and the grape, they tampered with the marijuana. Hydroponics, anyone? Y'all know.
Oh, I know about hydroponics.
770-559-2999. Who is the champion to come forth? I'm surprised my brother, the Black Barbarian.
You're right. We ain't heard from him in a long time.
Yeah, no doubt. But anyway, again, as this discussion continues, the next level is, what level of dissent should we utilize? Because see, when I was in the naturalists are paper tigers. They know and see what's happening, but they're so ensconced. Guess who it is that finances their excursions into the rural area and their parties? It's the corporations.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
So here on one hand, you see the natural environment being destroyed, but you got the corporations that's fueling your office complex in the building that you're in.
Now, who sits on the board of them corporations?
Thank you.
Yeah, who sits on the board? It all goes back to the American people.
Yes.
If a number of us stood up and say no more, somebody have to cease and desist, brother.
Right.
I concur.
You know.
Well, this is what I don't concur with. I don't concur with that it's centered around numbers. I believe, like you believe that justice, truth, righteousness will ultimately rise to the top despite numbers.
True.
Because the numbers of the Europeans right now that think that we're inhuman and we should be put off our land, taken from us, put in concentration camps like in Soweto and over here in Mogadishu and all these other African countries where our people are just being warehoused and they got UN advisors in there. I mean, if we were in a system of love, we'd be talking about giving them clean water.
But why are they put off their land? Because somebody
Resources.
with wealth send weapons over there.
Exactly.
Divide the people.
Destabilize the area.
Divide the people.
Yes, sir.
Send crooks in there.
That's right.
Talk to this group,
Yes.
talk to that group, and then pin them against each other.
That
That's
sounds
it.
like the Sudan.
Right.
Exactly.
The Congo.
Congo.
What about the Congo?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it's just a standard measure, a
Yep.
method of
to me,
divide and conquer.
It goes back to that inner self, like she was saying in the beginning of this, knowing, okay, you pass the belief, you know. And then for you, somebody to come in there and take off what you know is correct and good for your people,
Right.
you descend and then go with the corrupt or
With the crowd.
Yeah.
What were you about to say, Black?
Well, I was going to say to what Sunday was saying, they take that one individual in each country, your dictators that were trained down here in Georgia.
Right.
Side note.
Exactly.
But what I
School of the Americas?
School of the Americas, but I think we have to change the economical structure, which will not allow for corruption.
Exactly.
Because if I pull Elder Sundown aside and offer him $2 million, and he's in a financial crunch there, and I say, look at your people, they're on drugs, they're smoking weed,
They're overweight.
Just take care of you and your family.
That's right.
The average human being will go for that.
Exactly.
If you create that condition where you're squeezing the economical life out of them.
Well, where you take them away from the knowledge of nation and knowledge of self.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to. You can have nation knowledge yourself and squeeze. There's a book called Confessions of the Economical Hitman.
That's right.
The people down in South America
Just
know
threaten them with their life, their
Yeah.
house going. That's
Exactly.
it. That's what the
Now,
mortgage
brother.
crisis was really all about. It's just
Hold
we're
on.
going to really take control by telling you we're going to take away your house.
Exactly.
You'll stop everything to make sure that your family has a house.
Exactly.
Because the alternatives in this society right now are just horrible.
Yes.
Okay, you can get yourself boxed in horribly.
Yes.
If you are out of your house, getting back into one, there's a
Yes.
huge chasm.
It is.
So what are you going to do if you're threatened with, I'm going to take away your house?
Right.
And house being, whatever is the roof over your head.
Exactly.
But that is where you will step back and do whatever.
Yeah.
And I watched that happen, and a friend of mine, got in a situation where she lost everything. And I saw her about 3 months later, and she said, I've never been so free because I have nothing anyone can take away from me.
Exactly.
And
that's right.
it's an absolute mindset.
That's right. That's right.
Nah.
Go ahead, Elder.
They did that to my mother, December 2012, a week before Christmas. My mother's still strong.
That's right.
And she just like what Sister Sue-Ann just said.
Right.
She free now.
Right.
So go on and let them take it, brother.
That's right. That's right.
So you can be free and start over.
That's
Sometimes it's good for them to take stuff.
That's
so
right.
you can, it's a mindset.
That's right.
That fear.
Yes, sir.
Brother, 15 car wrecks, police brutality. Imagine if I had the money from all of them, because two of them mine fault.
right.
The rest of them folks ran into me. Imagine the wealth I would have. Now, did that stop me?
No, sir.
Not one insurance company gave me nothing.
That's right.
They awarded me money for the police brutality, but the crooked court system took it.
Oh my goodness.
They appealed it, threatened my lawyer. I was left with nothing. Exactly. But have that stopped me?
No, sir.
Look at me.
Yes, sir.
So, sometimes, brother, you have to let them take that material stuff and start over.
And Black, I'm coming to you, but that's really what we have to do in America. That's really, and there are wheels being turned that are not our own, that's really deciding that for us. We are actually, things are being taken from us, and it is a process that is going to be excruciatingly painful for many of us as America its own fate is being sealed. Go ahead.
One thing, I know you and Suanne were on the show last week, and I wanted to interject so badly. This is why, Gideon, I say centralized leadership is a danger.
Okay.
Because I can call you and say, Gideon, you can take that $1 million, or what's your son's name? Gideon Ben Israel? Right. Doesn't he work down at Kroger off of Moreland?
Exactly.
It would be a shame if he suddenly gets in a car.
Hello.
So it's better as a group work together than individuals, because like Suanne talked about Edward Snowden last week.
True.
You got people coming out saying, yeah, I'd kill him, I'd put a bullet in his head, and if he was walking down the street, I'd do this and do that. Right. But you look at how Edward Snowden come out, but let's don't forget about Bradley Manning. Okay. Let's not forget about Julian Assange.
Exactly.
Let's not forget about Mumia Abu-Jamal.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
So I think a group, when you have a group of whistleblowers, right? So when you can trace the whistleblowers coming out, and the government is like, oh man, it's like scattering ants.
Exactly.
So it's better if we come out as a whole, as opposed to an individual, because you might get that from.
But guess what? Wait a minute now. But guess what? I'm coming to you. But guess what? They come back with National Defense Authorization Act,
and they can do that. And that's why they have to come with the drones.
They can shut all that down home.
But that, remember, there were all the speeches, all the marches, Selma, all of those, none of them had the impact that the boycott had.
True.
Okay? The boycott is what affected change.
True.
Okay?
True.
It took away the dimes.
Yes.
All right? Affected change for all time.
Well, I can't disagree with that, but on the face of the boycott itself, there was a spiritual component that unified the people so they could have a boycott. Exactly. We no longer have that spiritual unification where we are now been dissected in this society.
Whoa, Gideon. Bear Russell was a homosexual. So what kind of, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of the spiritual community is against that. They came together. Let's not forget, Kwame Ture was an atheist. So come on now. Let's not exclude
it was a lot of.
No, I'm saying I'm saying that type of mentality to unify and rally as a unit. You missed that
because you confused me when you said spiritual. That's a Christian word. Okay, you confused.
Well, see, I want to cut back. I want to drop this one in your chest. When you die, what happened?
I don't know. I've never died before. I've never, like I said, I'm the
let me deal with that
and
right
I
now.
object that spiritual is a Christian term. It is a philosophic term.
It is a philosophic term.
Exactly.
Which was adopted by Constantine, though, right?
It's a philosophic term descriptive of what?
Of something greater than oneself.
Okay.
Also, it's energy.
It's
something
energy
that make your mouth move, your arms.
Right.
Because once it's taken out of you, this is no good.
It's no good. That's right.
And it's way before Constantine.
Right.
I mean, like they were discussing on Bill Maher, that it's a lot of white Christians, preachers, think the earth is only 6,000 years old.
Okay.
And it's history to prove that the earth is way older than that.
They're carbon dating techniques. Okay.
Not only that, the men and women that have been found in Africa, the continent of Africa.
Sure.
That's million years old.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That carbon dating is the technique they
and I want to add on to what he's saying.
Determine the age of the
because there's still people that think there's only one species of humans that ever exist.
Well, it's called the human race.
Well, but you got different species. I mean, you got Homo sapiens, Neanderthal, Homo erectus.
Wait a minute, who told you that, man?
Smithsonian down in D.C. told me that.
No, I do hear what you're saying. But I'm saying some of the evidence that have been previously thought to be law has been changed through the process of time and then other things being revealed. Because, see, Suanne brought out a powerful term. it's called artificial intelligence. Now, Suanne,
Right.
I'm going to hit you with this. What's the opposite of artificial intelligence?
Well, I guess the opposite of artificial intelligence would be knowing. It would be human intelligence.
Human or organic intelligence. Now, what represents organic?
Innate knowing. Yeah.
What represents organic intelligence?
Well, represented is, like she say, knowing.
Well,
Your belief
The
system.
human body is a representation of organic intelligence.
Yeah, but what about that inside the human?
No, I'm here. I'm with you there.
Okay.
What's inside is spirit. It's not organic. It's another level of existence, but not on the organic level. When we talk about organics, we're talking about living organism that has a metabolism that processes life.
Okay.
On a natural level.
Right.
So when we talk about, this is the difference between intelligence that we see in America, which is artificial, which generates radiation, which causes carpal tunnel, which has various other shortcomings, versus the organic intelligence that the ancients had, where it's like telekinesis,
Right.
kinetics.
Right.
These are verifiable, documentable skills and techniques that we have been proven to have, where people can move objects with thought.
I could tune you in if you was in New
I'll
York.
tune you out.
Right.
So there are levels of intelligence that the European mind has yet to comprehend because they can't measure it in a science book.
But brother,
right?
Well, I think that whole measuring thing got stopped by the Christian church. Okay, that became voodooesque, and something beyond what they could understand or explain to somebody else, so it couldn't be good.
Exactly.
Now, I want to say about that. Some of them do know that exists. That's how they came up with the artificial.
Okay.
Because what I studied back in the 80s about the European countries, mostly I think Germany. And
give me a time, George.
that a lot of the elite knew the truth, but they hid it from the common people.
That's true.
We talking about Europeans against Europeans.
Now let me show you another level of organic intelligence. This is what this book is about, organic intelligence, where, whether you believe it or not, the Messiah had the ability to appear and disappear.
Right.
Where he didn't have dominion over death.
Well, I'm glad you stated belief.
It is a belief.
Right, I'm glad you stated
that is not documentable by scientific evidence and theory.
And
but
that
it is, in
problem.
fact, and as we've discussed, your subconscious mind. Does it exist? Or is it a belief?
It exists. But someone can say that it's a chemical reaction. But let me just say this, Gideon.
And we got about 3 minutes.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I'm just talking about things in a court of law. I mean, we could talk about belief, but at the end of the day, like I said, I'm a defender of Earth realm. So let's come together with the clean water, because I know Suanne and something. I know they like the clean glass of water,
Right.
And I know they don't like radiation. Was at the coast of California right now, Fukushima. It took its 2-year trip,
Exactly.
and now the whole coast is.
You feel me?
Yeah, it's
capitalism at its best.
Well, the rads are real.
Plus, I want to say this about praying.
Yes.
I have never believed that after you pray, you don't get up and get in action.
Yes, sir.
You just don't pray and then sit back down and lay down.
That's right.
You get up and get to work.
Get to going. Suanne, give us a closing statement.
Just I follow on what he was saying. You need to get first. We are so distracted. We're so distracted in our world that we don't take the time for that clarity moment.
Right.
We need to do it every day. It's a practice that we have lost
Yes.
in our forever distracted world.
Absolutely.
And I found it. I'm going to say one thing.
Go ahead.
I spent some time with my grandsons yesterday, and we came into the house about 5 o'clock. And interestingly, they did not turn on the television.
Wow.
I know.
That's incredible.
I know.
Yes.
That's your influence.
Yes.
Well, no, it's not, because
isn't?
I was the one reaching for the remote.
But I was trying to bump you up.
But I didn't. Okay, I didn't. I just went, oh, what is this?
And put it
So it's
all right,
something else
wait a minute.
going.
We getting ready to go out. Our time. I want to say the Comforter. It is in you. 561 also LaDonna Drive, Congregation of Yahshua, That's where we is. Come out, holler at our people, but come back right here. Next week, if it be God's will, we hope to be here in power and in strength. The Most High be with you. Our blessings too. Peace in the Middle East, in your hearts.
And around the globe.